everybody, and welcome back to the B1 podcast with Matt and Tommy. Italian Grand Prix edition, otherwise known as King Charles edition. Oh my goodness gracious me. Cloud9, I'm going to wake up soon. What is going on, Tommy? How is that real? Why is Charles Leclerc so sexy? So many questions to be answered on this podcast.
Indeed. The fact that, well, I don't think you'd have predicted we would be here with, what was it, like 15, 20 laps to go. Never really looked like it was happening. And then just out of nowhere, whole race turned on its head. And for Monza, that normally it was kind of the race we expected at Monza, where it was difficult to pass between the leaders, I guess. It was such an intriguing and exciting race, and it couldn't be any better for a podcast as well, because there are so many topics to pop off about, and I am going to pop off as well.
Oh, Tommy's going to pop off. I am so ready for this. Now, before we dive into any more, our US tour tickets are still available. Link will be on our social media everywhere. We'd love to see you come to our US tour. We've also very shortly got a UK one that's being announced very soon, potentially next week or something like that. So look forward to that. But yeah, if you live anywhere in the US or Canada, then please do come to one of our shows that we're touring in October. Yeah, October, not far away now, is it, Tommy?
Very soon, one
not
month
far away. So please come along. We've got so much to talk about in these shows. Lots of games, audience participation. It's really good fun. So would love to see you there. Okay, let's get into it then, shall we? And start with my most memorable moment. What do we reckon? What do we reckon? Charles Leclerc wins in Monza. How is that real? How is me saying those words actually true? How is this not predictions right now? This is unbelievable. Cloud9, as you can quite clearly see, I am very, 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 very happy with this victory for many reasons. Not purely because he won, but because he was certainly the underdog in that battle, if we're calling it a battle between the top three. And I would say it's one of his best ever drives. Now, it wasn't anything that's going to take headlines in terms of defense, and as an overall race, it's probably not a banger that we're going to look back on either. But in terms of how he just kept his head in that situation of pitting one lap later than Lando Norris, on lap 16, I think it was, being angry that Lando had essentially undercut them, and being able to turn what was quite clearly going to be a two-stop strategy into a one was just phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. What a drive. I can't believe he's beaten both the McLarens to the victory. Ferrari did what Ferrari did in 2022. McLaren did what Ferrari did in 2022, it feels like, because that was not a victory I ever expected.
It was incredible from Leclerc. I think you're absolutely right in the sense that because he didn't have a car swarming all over the back of him for the final 10 laps, it will almost be forgotten about what a brilliant drive that was. But you have to applaud how incredible it was, because it will go down almost, like a little bit underrated, because when you just look at it from face value, it's like, oh, he's won. But for him to be able to do that with the one stop was so impressive, because we saw, as it got later into the race, I actually said on stream, didn't I? I made a bold prediction. I was like, I think Carlos could win this, because a one stop would actually be possible. And you could kind of see that could be an option. But I never would have expected Charles to do it, because it looked like, if anything, Carlos had obviously stayed out later, and he was kind of dropping back from Leclerc, even though he had those newer tyres. So you thought...
so Carlos had pit, I think, 4 laps later than Charles. And I believe, from what my mind and memory serves me, he was 8 seconds behind Charles when he came out. And that became 10 or 11. And so I think we were both sort of monitoring
that, going, save it.
Carlos is going to try and go long here. Whereas Charles, we never even a million years thought he was going to one-stop from there, did we?
No, and that's probably why McLaren were caught out massively by it, because McLaren just did their own race and went, oh, the tyres are going, better pit. It's a one-stop. Everyone's going to do a one-stop. The Pirelli graphic says it's a one-stop. And then, sorry, a two-stop. It's going to be I completely the wrong thing. Two-stop.
No, I'm pretty sure the Pirelli graphic did say it was going to be a
sorry,
one-stop.
Yeah. But once everyone realised it was going to be a two-stop,
So am I supposed to be the flustered one?
Yeah,
in this podcast?
True. It's very warm in the UK today, and yeah, it was wow. What a drive, and to win Monaco and Monza, and then be your only 2 wins of the year is quite insane because they
I would
cannot
say
be
it's
any more different.
Planned, to be honest with you. Like, Charles doesn't want to dominate
plan.
too much of his career because he's quite a giving, sharing, polite person. But he thought he'd take 2 this year, which was obviously Monza and Monaco, and let everyone else have some fun. Yeah, nice guy, really. First question comes in from Grand Structure. After how many races will we talk about Ferrari winning the World Constructors' Championship over McLaren? Now, this is a narrative that is beginning to emerge again. After the 1-4 for Ferrari. But I don't see it personally. McLaren quite clearly have a very versatile, quick car every single circuit we go to. Ferrari is a bit of an unknown quantity. I think they brought 9 upgrades into Monza, and they were throwing the kitchen sink at winning this one, and they did. But we've got so many interesting, unique tracks coming up. You've got Baku, Singapore, Mexico. There's these tracks that there's something about them that makes them very different from each other, whether it's the track surface or the altitude or whatever. So I'm not going to get ahead of myself and say Ferrari are now back in this. Charles Leclerc's in the World Championship for both the drivers and the constructors. I'm going to absolutely just shush that for now because Ferrari haven't proved that they are fully consistent and back in this after quite a poor run of form. Obviously before Zandvoort, I would say. So no, I don't think they will beat McLaren in the constructors, but let's see. Let's see what Baku brings. Charles is incredible around Baku. So scrap everything. Charles going to win.
Of course, Ferrari won that race with Charles Leclerc through a bold strategy. If you look at the actual race pace of them, Ferrari were very good around here, but McLaren, yet again, had the fastest car. And they, of course, didn't win. I will say it with my chest that McLaren win the Constructors' Championship. I don't know how they don't. And I think they win that just simply because their car is so good, and it's so good at every track.
And we're talking about a disaster for them, and they finished second and third.
Exactly. They've closed the championship. They are 8 points.
Or 10 or
8. Yeah, because 8 points now. 8 points behind. They've got the Constructors' Championship pretty much nailed on. We're going to get into McLaren's race. I think even McLaren can't balls that up because they've got famous last words, but they've got an unbelievable car. They're good around every circuit. That should be absolutely locked in that they win the championship. But you can argue that they should be absolutely crushing the Constructors' Championship this year. And it shouldn't even really be a debate at this point if McLaren are going to win it or not.
Absolutely. Let's go to the next question. P1 Patreon member Sophie. More wins than poles prediction coming through for Matt. Oh my God, I forgot about this.
I forgot about this.
I forgot about this prediction. This was before the season even started. And my crazy prediction for the year was that Charles would get more wins than poles. And he now has 2 wins and 1 pole. Right, Charles, put your feet up for the rest of the year, my friend.
No more wins.
Or just convert every pole into a victory, and I've absolutely cooked there. That's cook of the century.
Yeah, if that actually comes in, I'd argue that might even be better than your Daniel Ricciardo, Nick De Vries prediction. Because
considering how many pole positions Charles Leclerc has, yes, it's
insane.
Wow, well spotted, Sophie. Thank you for sending that in.
Very well spotted. But yeah, it has to be said that you're looking at the race wins now, and you've got to think like, how on earth has Charles Leclerc, got 2 wins? How has he got the same number as Lando, one more than Piastri? Madness. But yeah, it's a very, very impressive because, and this shows that I hope he does do it because I think he's had that unfair narrative of him being just like bottling races, and I don't think it's true. He's just always been able to deliver unbelievably well in qualifying and then not had a car to deliver. And when he did have a car to deliver in 2022, he showed what he can do with it. So,
and Ferrari did some Ferrari things
yeah,
back then.
exactly. But I mean, at the start of the season, when that car
Yes.
was where it was, he did everything he did. So
he certainly did. So very, very happy indeed. I'm sure we'll talk about Ferrari even more so at any given point that I can possibly throw in for the rest of the podcast, because I'm very happy. But Tommy, what is your most memorable moment?
My most memorable moment is Oscar Piastri's bold, quite frankly, unbelievable move around the outside of Lando Norris at this second chicane. Now we'll get into the context of the move, and whether it was the right thing to do, whether McLaren should have let it happen, things like that. We'll get into that completely later, because what I want to say is that move was absolutely sensational. If you take all the context out of it, a lot of talk of, Lando's bottled it and all this kind of stuff. I think that was more just brilliance from Piastri than it was Lando having a poor race. It was so brave. And yeah, Oscar was very unlucky not to win the race. He was obviously gutted. He had amazing pace, got past Lando and pulled away. And yeah, his ceiling, we said it in our watch along, that is quite frightening. How good he can be, because it's still, he's not even finished his second season yet, and he's doing moves like that. And it's so funny, isn't it? After you completely turn it around from the last race, where we're going, oh, Oscar's really let the team down. He's not got the result. He should definitely be finishing second. And then here, he's shown up and delivered a really, really good performance. But as a racing fan, that is Formula One for me. Those kind of moves, like it's unbelievable to watch.
It certainly is, and that move created a lot of talking points, a lot of narratives, a lot of things to definitely discuss around this. First and foremost, Oscar Piastri's move, I completely agree with you, was sensational. Does he pull that move off if he is up against Hamilton, Verstappen, Alonso, Russell? I don't know, a few of the top drivers? No chance. Lando Norris, in my opinion, breaks early because he thinks his teammate's on the outside, doesn't want to crash with him, gives him a bit of leeway. You can see the braking distance, the braking where they braked. It's quite visibly different. Like Piastri is able to swing it all the way around the outside. Anyone else, like a Hamilton defending that or a Verstappen defending that, they brake exactly the same time as Oscar Piastri. Oscar Piastri then has to go straight over the chicane, and then they keep the position. Lando, and whether this is to his detriment, played it quite safe, quite polite. He even said in the post-race interview that he thought Oscar's move was, I don't want to misquote him, but he was essentially just saying that he wasn't particularly happy with it, right? He wasn't a fan of... He said if he'd braked 1 meter later, they would have crashed. But I think 1 meter later, Oscar Piastri gets out of it, and then Lando probably has to keeps the lead because Oscar doesn't make the corner. So that's definitely something that I noticed with that Lando, whether it was because of his teammate or just this whole lap one narrative that we've got going on, I'm not sure. I'm more inclined to lean towards the fact that it was his teammate, that he was giving him a little bit more of a papaya rule wide berth, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, we'll get into that. That's the next question.
But yes, it was an amazing move from Oscar. He took full advantage of it, but it didn't. That's not the end of the discussions. So let's dive into the first question about it. Ellen Louise _MT asks, are Lando and Oscar interpreting whatever papaya rules are differently, and is that potentially detrimental to the constructors' fight? Because that lap one absolutely lost the team a P1. Questionable about the absolutely lost the team a P1, because at the end of the day, Oscar Piastri led the race and seemed to be the quicker McLaren driver for most of the afternoon, especially with the tyre wear. Lando was really struggling with his front left.
I guess you can argue it let Leclerc into the mix, maybe, as well.
It let Leclerc into the mix, I guess. Yeah, that's very true. But
would they have just driven away?
Did that affect the pace against Piastri's race time. Maybe it was the 2 seconds, the 3 seconds. So yeah, okay, I think it's negligible, right? It could have gone either way. But yes, interpreting the rules, I don't think so. I'm sure McLaren have laid out exactly what papaya rules means, because why would they just go follow papaya rules and then they're just going out on the track like, what's papaya rules? And then it's lights out. I don't think it's quite that bad. But yes, it was quite the. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't know what do McLaren want here. Like from a perspective of a fan, I loved the fact they went side by side and battled for the lead. But I also put my brain into McLaren / Lando fans and went, what are the team doing here? Do they want to win the the drivers' championship?
No,
because by that, it didn't seem that way.
Yeah, I thought this question was an interesting one because we kind of debated it on our watch along about how we saw it kind of differently. Of papaya rules could be that interpretation of you're free to race, but the free to race is how much risk, I guess, you apply to are you free to race, and I guess this person is kind of alluding to that as well. But my sort of take on it is, if papaya rules are simply you're allowed to race, my sort of like first thought on papaya rules and what they're saying is it's McLaren trying to be the popular, likable team and letting them race, and whether that, well, we all know if you actually take your I'm a Formula One fan brain out and put your I'm a member of the McLaren Formula One team and want to win the World Championship, it's probably not the best idea. It was wonderful to watch as fans. And Oscar is always going to, all the best drivers push those kind of things to the limits. We've seen it with Sebastian Vettel. We've seen it with Max Verstappen. And maybe, Lando is an unbelievable driver, but maybe he does need to be a bit more selfish. We had the debate of like, oh, he's let off early, but maybe it's time, because it's now 7 in a row that he's lost the lead on lap 1 from pole position. Maybe he does need to have a bit more fear factor about him. And I know this is absolutely an insane thing to say, and I can hear the comments already going, well, said like a true Max Verstappen fan, maybe he does need to punt someone off the road to show that he's got... It's true, though. It is
just
true.
A little love tap.
A little love tap. Because people fear Max Verstappen when he comes by to overtake, and that is something that's part of his game that makes him feared. And maybe Piastri thought, well, Lando will back out. I'll just go around the outside of him. Thank you very much. And if it's I'm free to race, of course Piastri is going to go, yes, I will take this victory. Thank you very much, Lando.
Yeah, the way I interpreted papaya rules was obviously you can race, but I think at the end of the day they're racing every person, right? And if there was nothing more to it, then they would just go, you can race. For me, papaya rules is don't take silly risks, give each other more than enough space, more space than you would give anyone else on track, like those kind of things. And then when you look at where Oscar made the move into the second chicane of lap 1, where they were probably, well, I haven't actually seen the onboard. I don't know if they touched or whether it was inches, centimeters, millimeters. It didn't scream to me papaya rules. And obviously for Lando as well to say after the race that he wasn't particularly happy with it, perhaps that was his interpretation of it as well. But then let's not forget papaya rules was said after all of this happened. This wasn't before, because obviously this happened on lap 1. It was once Oscar was leading, papaya rules, everybody, which we did then think, is it multi-21? What's going on here? Like,
what does that mean?
What are you unleashing?
Is that let them through? Is that you can race? So many. For me, my interpretation of it was, we're McLaren, we're race fans, we're going to let them race. That was, and I could be completely wrong. That's just how I saw it personally.
Cool. Let's disagree. Right. I think we're on the same sort of hopefully they'll just clarify it, right? I'm sure they will. This is the big
will they though? Because is it not a deliberate misleading nickname to basically not show their whole hand on the radio, maybe.
And the drivers don't even know what it means either, by the looks of things. So, next question. P1 Patreon member Harvey Walker. Do McLaren have the right mentality to fight for the titles this year and even next year's? They are fortunate in the sense that they have a car that can win the constructors no matter whether they have some silly antics or not. You've got Red Bull that have one driver that is quite far ahead of the other, apart from Monza. We'll get on to that. And then you've got Ferrari that haven't been quick over the course of the whole season. So I don't think you have two very talented drivers and they will get the job done, in my opinion, when it comes to constructors. For the drivers, yes, it's like they've never competed for a drivers' championship in their lives. Like it's bizarre to think that they are, with now 8 races to go in this championship, not willing to upset Oscar Piastri or to get him to fall in line to help Lando, just to see what can happen. Now, of course, if we're looking at it just from a neutral perspective and just want to see great racing, we don't want to enforce team orders. Absolutely not. But I'm, again, putting myself in the position of, do you want to win this drivers' championship? And I'm so used to seeing team orders, having watched Formula One for 25 plus years, that it makes sense that that should still be the thing that teams that want to win the drivers do. But alas, they don't want to do it right now for whatever reason. They're lucky that Lando has still closed in on Max Verstappen in the championship despite all of this. And they're going to have to, unless Oscar Piastri wins the next 3 races and is level on points with Lando or something, and then it's just either or, they're going to have to put their eggs in Lando's basket eventually. But will it be too late?
Yes, it is too late. This is where I have maybe it's an unfair opinion on the situation. But to me, this race almost told me that McLaren have almost conceded with the Drivers' Championship. I know that's yes, exactly. I'm not saying it's the right. I'm not saying it's the right decision, but why? Because with the Oscar Piastri is driving unbelievable. There's a whole another debate over next year, and he's had another year under his belt. Yes, maybe it's Oscar going for the championship next year if that McLaren is unbelievable, because he's been on this amazing run of form. I think he's outscored Lando when you fit where you want the championship to go. But at the end of the day, the championship is over many, many, many races, and Lando is 44 points clear of Oscar. So Oscar, it's going to take massive amount for Norris to win the championship, but it's going to take an absolute miracle for Piastri to win the championship, because it's that gap. You can say all you like about if Oscar's the better driver at the moment or whatever, or Oscar's more ruthless or can do this. But the fact is, Lando is clear of Oscar Piastri and has a chance because Red Bull have fallen off a cliff. Max Verstappen's last results are 5th, 2nd, 5th, 4th, 2nd, 6th. It's a massive opportunity. And the fact that they didn't switch the cars at the end told me everything I need to know about their thoughts of the. And you'll say, "Oh, it's absolutely ridiculous," but you can understand that maybe it's not popular. But when they were denying Oscar his first victory, it's a very difficult decision because it's a first Formula One victory that Oscar Piastri had earned, and it was very difficult to take it off him. Is it really a difficult decision to say Oscar, Lando could win this drivers' championship this year because Max is like the Red Bull has fallen off? Just switch the cars. Realistically, 2nd or 3rd is at the end of the world at Monza. Next year, you've got a great chance to fight for the title. You made a great point on the watch along. They even told Lando that you're going to need Oscar in this championship fight, and they still didn't let him through.
In Hungary, this was, yeah.
In Hungary. It's absolutely baffling because the gap is obviously massive between Lando and Max, but it's coming down, but it's not coming down enough. And you can add those 3 points that was the gap to those 7 points in Hungary. And if we get to Abu Dhabi and Lando loses the championship by 9 or 10 points, yes, you can look at the championship and go, Lando should have done better in himself, but why not make it easy for him and give him as many points as possible? Debate all you
And as
like
well,
about how he's doing in the championship, but like, why would you not put your best foot forward? It makes absolutely no sense.
and I think it's counterintuitive in some ways as well with McLaren that yes, it seems like they're trying to protect Oscar Piastri's whatever, confidence, motivation. But I think this also affects Lando, and Lando goes, "Well, McLaren don't want me to win this drivers' championship because they're not even willing to." And maybe it's because Lando doesn't throw his weight around enough and demands this, that, and the other as well. But I
There's no way
completely agree. It's
Oscar
not even.
Piastri goes into next year and going, oh, I've not got the confidence anymore because
Yeah.
I
Oh,
gave
I
up a
had to swap
P2 for a
second to third.
P3.
Yeah.
No chance. Oscar Piastri is like, we
It's
saw
such
with
a
his
good point.
ballsy overtake how brave that guy is and how like bold he is as a driver. It's not going to affect him one bit. You just have to back the driver that is going for the championship. McLaren literally lost the world title in 2007 to Kimi Raikkonen because they had two drivers going for the title. They had the best car, and then they ballsed it up at the
What did
end
they lose that by
because
1 point,
1
2 points?
point
One
exactly.
point.
So
Yeah.
1 point, it can happen. It's actually baffling, and I don't want to hear anyone like claim that it's like any kind of like, oh, you're only saying that because you want Lando to win or it's British bias and all that. It's just a sensible thing to do.
Yeah.
I'd be saying exactly the same thing.
For
And
anyone.
As a Max Verstappen fan, I'm actually like, well, thank you very much, McLaren. I will take Max winning another title because you've
Yeah.
conceded it.
Yeah, so the gap right now is 62 points. And that's a fantastic point that you make, Tommy. And I think it's even more of a statement that they didn't swap today compared to Hungary, where, as you say, it is you can't do that to Oscar in that point. But Oscar Piastri is going to have so many more podiums in his career, and he would understand, I'm sure, if they said this to him and or said it before the race. These are the scenarios that you would think McLaren would put in place, but it's utterly bizarre. So Piastri is 44 points behind Lando, and
Even if Oscar wins the next two races,
106
yeah,
behind Max.
it's
It's
not
it,
happening, is it?
it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. That does. So yeah, just so many McLaren. Why are you doing this? Moments this year. It's really screaming Ferrari 2022,
But
if
they
not
need to,
worse.
yeah. McLaren need to like as a Formula One fan, and yeah, I will say this for the millionth time. As a Formula One fan, absolutely, I want to see him go wheel to wheel. That Piastri move was unbelievable to watch. I loved it, and I want to see them. I want to see them racing. But if I was a Lando Norris fan, I'd be absolutely fuming at this situation
Yeah,
because they
it
are
just makes
not
no
backing. It
sense
just doesn't make any sense from
from a
like,
championship
yeah,
perspective.
yeah, like are McLaren here to win the drivers' championship, or are they here to be like most entertaining and win most driver of the days, like
Yeah, but
and
the
sell
thing
the
is,
most
most
merchandise? Which one is
entertaining,
it?
but are they going to sell the most merchandise if they're peeing off their own fans by doing this, unless they're trying to appease Oscar Piastri fans? Because Lando Norris fans ain't going to be happy about it. Anyway, moving next question. Apple Spino. Interestingly, mysterious, spicy Oscars and Lando's post-race radio. Thoughts? No, I didn't hear this. What was the post-race radio, Tommy?
Well, they just both seemed a little bit like. I think Piastri's was more that he was gutted, but I think it's quite clear from Lando's radio. Let me try and get the actual transcript from them. But they were both fuming on the radio at the end, weren't they? And seemed a little bit
I've
annoyed.
got it now.
I think Piastri was more annoyed at
Yeah, but
losing the race win.
FNL. Yeah, nothing. And then another F bomb. Yeah, it's just.
I think
it's
it's
just tough
more.
to
I
hear
think
about
it's more
Lando, yeah.
annoyance, isn't it, from Lando? He knows that. I think it's just frustration from the drivers that they've lost another win. But you do, you mentioned in his post race interview that Lando didn't seem very happy with with Oscar's move on lap one. Yeah, it's a funny, and I'm sorry to bring it up because we shouldn't need to, but the whole Perez debate. Sorry, bingo card gone off. it's funny how we've had this conversation about Sergio Perez every week. And, McLaren have two really good drivers. Arguably, they're tripping each other up at the moment. Well, not even arguably, they are tripping each other up. If you gave all Oscar's points to Lando, and that's not fair, but if you're just literally looking at it as a factual thing, or even vice versa, one of them, if they just backed one driver, either of them would be a lot closer to Max than they are.
So what are you saying, Sargent to McLaren next year?
What I'm saying is just this classic debate with Formula One that what do you prioritize? Because these two great drivers means that they're going to win the Constructors' Championship. But you can argue that with messing around with who should be leading, who should get the most points, Max every week beats Perez and gets the most points, and he doesn't have to worry about Perez. And sometimes we have the debate of, Perez needs to be there to win this, but it can also sometimes work in the favor of Max never has to worry about Perez and having this argument of Perez needs to do this or get out the way. He could just run his own race and bag the maximum points that he does in the car.
I also love how we were speaking about Red Bull and Perez earlier, and I was like, Perez was quite close to Verstappen. I just saw that he finished 17 seconds behind Max in the end. So we'll get onto that when we reflect on some biggest good surprises.
No.
You're like, no, I thought I had a point there. Let's go to the next question, which is from P1 Patreon member CC Hollister. If it's not Behrman to replace K-Mag, who else can Haas use? Now, this is, of course, Kevin Magnussen actually getting 12 penalty points. Tommy thought it was impossible. Tommy thought the FIA would never go through with this. I was also of a very similar opinion that it seemed as though they were trying to avoid it in any which way possible that they could. But no, it is official. He has 12 out of 12 penalty points. Now, Haas do have a right to appeal. I don't think they're going to, because K-Mag literally is leaving the team at the end of the season, and Ollie Behrman is joining them. So it's a fantastic chance for Ollie Behrman to just pop in for a weekend. So I don't know where CC Hollister is coming from in terms of who else would they use. Has there been anything to suggest that they would go with anyone other than Ollie Behrman?
No, I don't think they would. So it was more just to get a question in about Kevin Magnussen, to be perfectly honest. And just actually what's funny is I was going to bring up the debate of there's been no official word if it is actually a ban yet, but that has now changed because Haas have actually done a press release that says Magnussen collected 2 penalty points for the collision with Gasly, meaning he will now serve a 1-race suspension in Azerbaijan. So that is them confirming, yes, we are taking the ban.
I see.
So they are admitting it. So that their answers there, will they appeal? Your answer is no if they're releasing a press release to say he's going to sit out a race. But to answer the actual question, because there did seem a little bit of confusion in comments that I've seen and stuff, the reality is that they can go with anyone. It doesn't have to be a Ferrari driver. It doesn't have to be as long as they've got super license points and can do it, they can put in who they like. But it's not been confirmed, but it's surely going to be Ollie Behrman. He's driving Formula 2. He's in the car next year, so there's no there's no reason he's not in the F2 Championship. Not that would even matter anyway.
So do you want an F1 weekend or?
Yeah, do you want to drive the car that you're going to drive for next year, or do you want to win an F2 Championship, which doesn't even confirm that you're going to
especially when you go into F1. So okay, interesting. Yep. So Ollie Behrman, we both expect to take K-Mag's place. Be interested. I haven't seen Kevin Magnussen's post-race thoughts yet, but I'll be very interested to see.
I'll hold my hands up there and say, well done, FIA. I didn't believe you'd do it, and maybe it clearly got to the point where they couldn't make any excuses any longer.
They're just watching the replay, going, "How do we give him one penalty point here?"
The fact though that we've been having this debate since Miami that he should be over, and we've got to Monza, and there's been multiple incidents where we go, yeah, surely he's getting a ban now. No, the FIA are probably like, oh, for God's sake, Kevin, we gave you so many excuses. We literally can't do this anymore.
Yeah, your own teammate did exactly the same thing. We had to give him 2 penalty points. So
Yeah, because if there'd been no other incidents in the race, they might have got away with it, and it would have been annoying. But well done,
Yeah,
you stuck to
there
the
you go.
rules.
Well done, FIA. You did the rule book thing. Well done. Next question, P1 Patreon member, Abu Dhabi 2021 survivor. Why was everyone complaining about their front lefts degrading? Now, there was a lot of track surface. There was a track surface change around Monza, newly resurfaced. The curbs were different. There was a lot that was, and it was higher speed as well through Ascari, through the curbs being a lot flatter, which some people liked, some people didn't like. Especially the XF1 drivers didn't enjoy that. So I think it was just a multitude of factors. The one person that wasn't was Charles Leclerc, who won the race. So I thought I'd just get that one in there. Just go back full, 180, 360, whatever you want to call it. That Charles Leclerc won the Italian Grand Prix. But yeah, it was quite surprising, to be honest, considering it's a 26-second pit stop loss around Monza. For teams and drivers to actually be forced into a two-stop around here just shows just how bad it was. And Lando Norris in particular, he was shocked to see how much his front left was degrading, almost sort of suggesting that perhaps there was something wrong with the car with how he was talking on the team radio. But it was the same for most, and most were forced on a two-stop, apart from Charles Leclerc, who won the race.
Indeed, yeah. Before our stream, we pretty much said pigs will fly before it's a two-stop at Monza, and then we actually got a two-stop at Monza. Maybe the solution is to resurface all the tracks with whatever they had. But there's a number of factors, like you say. But it is interesting that one thing I always find funny with these situations is all the computers and the tires tell them to do this, and they almost seem to have the Formula One teams still seem to have that Pirelli 2012 mentality of the tires are going to explode, we need to pit. But we've seen so many times now where a driver has stayed out and they kind of endure the worst of the Pirellis. And that used to be, like I mentioned, like 2012, 2013, used to be where the tire went bang. Whereas now, George Russell minus a little bit of extra weight on his car would have won with exactly the same situation where everyone went, no, it has to be a two-stop. The tires are going off. And you just look at it and go, well, actually, it's 26 seconds in the pits. Would I really want to lose 26 seconds, regardless of if the tires are going off? Because you can hold on. And it's exactly what Charles did. So yeah, it's funny that's still kind of still happening in Formula One, that it's very easy to kind of see the tires going off and go, oh, I need to get in the pits. But we've seen it a few times now where drivers have just kind of gone, let's take these tires longer, and we don't have that like Pirelli cliff like we used to, where they're suddenly losing 5, 6, 7 seconds a lap. It just doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't. And you do wonder, obviously, with the benefit of hindsight, whether Oscar could have gone to the end. He was managing, I think, about a 5-second gap to Leclerc, and it was okay. There
Yeah,
wasn't
because
any
would
Latin.
Leclerc have been able to pass
Yeah,
him on his old tyres as well?
not.
Probably
not. Especially when it looked like McLaren were faster as the stint went on, especially on the mediums in that first stint. Charles fell off, and the McLarens really came into their own. So my gut feeling is that Oscar would have won that race had he not stopped again. But of course, it's a weird one for me, because it is a 26-second pit stop, and you just think the only driver they are racing that isn't in their own team is Charles Leclerc. Now, I know I'm saying this knowing what happened, but also you've seen what happened with
also kind of see it
Lando,
coming a
and
mile off as
that
soon
was
as
a
they
bizarre
pitted.
strategy. Yeah, and it was a bizarre strategy from Lando as well, where he was pit quite early, and then they put him into Max Verstappen's clutches.
You wonder if Lando cooked his tyres, because he did go off, didn't he, as well, and
He
make
did
a few
go off,
mistakes.
yeah. But yeah, it's just perhaps McLaren just had worse tyre wear, and it is as simple as that. As they say, no, they definitely couldn't have done a one stop, and Ferrari could, but it just doesn't make too much sense to me that Oscar Piastri didn't win that race, because it looked so comfortable. But then as soon as he came out the pits, and I saw an 18-second gap with also a Carlos Sainz with slightly fresher tyres than Charles in the middle of them, there was a 10% chance of belief, which rapidly went up. Next question, P1 Patreon member Tony Soprano. Has Colapinto already justified the Williams driver swap? Now, I am not going to get fully Nick de Vries baited here because Monza is Monza. Okay, like Colapinto did do a good job. 14 seconds off Albon, finished 12th, did some good moves. It's a solid start to his F1 career. I'll absolutely say that. But I don't think we don't get the litmus test, I think, until we get to Baku. That is a track. That's going through that castle section. I mean, you need some decent underwear through there. So I think that will be where Colapinto maybe gets tested a bit more. It's a much more of a technical track than Monza is. So yeah, it's a good start, but let's wait for a few more races, I would say, till we get a full judgment.
Yeah, it's definitely a great start. I think it has to be applauded. His drive, he did everything that, because it was a risk. A lot of people said that, you're putting a driver with very little experience. Surely he's going to crash and just cause as much damage as Sargent. And he's delivered a great job in the race. Qualifying really does make you wonder, had he not had that off, he might have even got points, which would have been a sensational return. But it's a really solid and impressive drive to be thrown in at the deep end, regardless of the fact that it is Monza, which is their best track. There's still a lot of pressure on him to jump in the car, particularly as a lot of people, been quite judgmental of the decision. So we'll find out how he does for the rest of the season. But it's a great start, and it's going to be a big confidence boost for him to have essentially jumped in that car and done a very good job. It is the perfect first race for him to do, but it's not to take anything away from how he did as well.
Absolutely. Now, that pretty much sums up the questions. So shall we get into the predictions that we made at the start of this race week, Tommy? I think we should.
Yes. I've just realised that I've not put in the sheet what the score was. So
What's
I will
the
look
scores
at
on the
our
doors, Tommy?
Instagram graphic that we had, and it's 38 to me, 34 to you. So
38,
it's important
34.
to know before we Michael Massey this.
Okay, 38, 34.
Yeah.
Now, I did correctly predict Colapinto would start 18th.
Oh, here we go.
Predictions. I spoke to you about this on stream and also maybe in the podcast on Friday or Saturday. No, Saturday it would have been. Are we going ahead and giving me an additional point for correctly guessing where Colapinto started on the grid? You did say yes back then. Are you going back on your word now, Tommy? Because you know how much I've cooked? Shock?
Go on. Well, wait. I'm trying to remember if I got that rogue point that I predicted something and we debated.
Here we
I think
go.
I did, didn't I?
Which one?
Maybe. I'm sure there was a rogue point where I was also trying to claim, should I get a point?
I feel like I gave it to you because I'm a really kind and sharing and generous kind of guy.
Well,
ding, ding, ding. Right, +1 for me coming in. So it's we'll do a +1 additional point for the Colapinto quali guess. It wasn't who's closest, but I think it deserves it because I got it bang on the nose.
Yeah.
Okay, so biggest good surprise. Ferrari. Come on. We love to see it. Even Carlos getting a nice little P4. It's gosh, I put my chef's apron on and I rustled up a storm.
Well done.
You're so angry. I love it. Let's Michael Massey this. Also, Tommy, please stop getting points.
Yeah. I know I can't rely on just going for Max every week now. To
you can't. Up. If anything, his biggest flop. Right, carry on. Sorry.
Oh, well, if he's biggest flop, then I will take the dub for biggest good surprise, Sergio Perez.
Absolutely not.
Oh, it's not, is it?
He was 3 seconds behind Max for a while. How's he ended up 17 behind? I know he was fighting Russell for a bit.
I would have claimed it 100% if he'd have stayed with Max the whole race and just finished just behind him.
But 17 seconds is wild.
It's annoying because, he's got a P8, which was floppy before, but now you compare it to his teammate, it's a P6. But,
He didn't pit again, did he, or anything like that? No, he wouldn't have got, because it would have been 26 seconds. So absolutely not. Okay, no points for you for that, Tommy. Sorry. Biggest flop, Lando Norris.
Now, there'll be a lot. This is very debatable because I think there'll be a lot of people saying that maybe
Yes, they
you
would say
could
yes.
argue that he's flopped because he should have won the race easily. And it's kind of piled more pressure on him. But can you give him a flop for a P3?
Shall we leave it to the comments, this one?
We shall, but what I will argue is that my prediction was McLaren, and you can almost say the same thing. Like, would they be floppy for like basically?
No, Oscar Piastri cooked. No. You've gone for both there.
No, but McLaren as a team flopped by basically like bottling a easy 1-2 with the best car to finish 2-3. But it's not enough, is it?
Okay, well, look, we'll leave that as a non-score
TBC.
at the moment, a TBC. Let us know in the comments, and whatever is the top liked comment, or I'll look for comments mainly backing me and not Tommy. That'd be great. But yeah, let us know. So I went for biggest flop Lando Norris. Tommy went for biggest flop McLaren. Which one deserves points? And that'll be on the YouTube comments for those that are maybe listening on audio. Pole position. I went for Charles Leclerc. 10th and a half off. Unfortunately, no points.
Indeed, and I went for Carlos Sainz. And look, half a point. If he hadn't got that mosquito in his eye, he might have done it. But
the top three. In third place, I went for Max Verstappen, which was too high, which is
miles
absolutely ridiculous.
God, such a Max fanboy, aren't you? I went for Carlos Sainz, which was quite close, but alas, not.
Close, but not close enough. Second place, I went for Carlos Sainz, which was no.
Second place, I went for Charles Leclerc, which no.
Incorrect, because I went for first place, Charles Leclerc. And it's correct. Oh, unbelievable.
And I went for Lewis Hamilton.
Tommy, let's just bask in the glory a second. Charles Leclerc won the Italian Grand Prix Monza, and I predicted it.
You predicted you've predicted both his wins, actually. Are they the only two times he's put Charles P1?
We'll have to go back into the predictions and figure that out. Because unless I backed him in Bahrain, but I really doubt it after testing.
Yeah, probably not.
That's quite something.
That'd be interesting if,
all right,
if you did.
I'm backing him in Baku then. Okay, and your first place?
My first place was Lewis Hamilton, and that was not even close.
That really wasn't.
Still finished ahead of Russell. Like, we'll get into that in driver ratings, but like, how has that happened again?
Yeah, poor old Russell with his front wing losing it on the back of Piastri into turn one. One crazy prediction. I went for Ferrari will score better than they did in Zandvoort. Let's go again. Cash money for me. And I was so ready to get 0 points from this weekend.
And I went for no Red Bull or McLaren on the podium, which there was no Red Bull. But
I would have happily accepted no Red Bull at that point, to be honest with you.
Really? Yeah. I was trying to be too like, I can do it.
Yeah, you're being really chefy with that one.
I don't think I wouldn't have allowed myself to do just Red Bull.
No, after you read out Max's recent run of form, I think he's had less podiums than he has been on the podium in the last, 6 races or something?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah.
Wow, unbelievable. And then the crazy predictions from you wonderful lot. We had P1 Patreon member Red. Alex Albon qualifies top of Formula B. That is correct. Yeah, he was 9th, wasn't he? P1 Patreon member Sam, Ferrari pole, but not a win. I got it the wrong way around, didn't you, Sam? Minus 100. You are banned. And P1 Patreon member Sierra H, at some point during the race, there will be contact between drivers at turn 1. Yes,
we said
definitely was.
And there was, yeah.
Yes, there definitely was. I mean, Russell, yeah. Although technically we said that the end plate had to come off and it was still attached to the front.
Yeah.
No, we'll give him a point for that. That works out absolutely
fine.
Wow.
Have we massied this perfectly then, if you get your Colapinto point as well?
No, I do get my Colapinto point. There's no two ways about it. 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm on 38.
And I scored nothing.
And you scored nothing. So if I then get the biggest flop Lando and you don't get the biggest flop McLaren, I'm leading going into Baku.
No, we can't. We can't give you. It's the same.
We've opened it up to the audience now, Tommy. You can't now just start getting T's and C's. Can't be flying them around. You can't be like, oh no, now we don't open it to the fans. No, we will. You tell us exactly what you think. Right. That pretty much sums it up, doesn't it? Is there anything else to talk about before we go?
Well, we'll
K-Mag
save
scored a
Zhou
point. Scored a point.
Guanyu's
We
race
told him
4 driver ratings, of course.
we did say K-Mag got banned. We didn't mention he actually got a point, even though he had a 10-second penalty, which I
I
think was actually quite
know.
sensational as a drive.
Yeah, and he
of
didn't
course,
even
Alex
need
Albon.
Hulkenberg to drive, cut 6 chicanes and hold
Yeah.
the entire field
If
up to
anything,
do it. So well done.
Did they swap cars? Because Hulkenberg was very Magnussen today with
It
that
was.
incident at the start. And Joe didn't finish last. Stroll did. What happened to Stroll in this race? By the way, I don't
Yeah,
even know. I'm going to have to
terrible.
analyze it fully to give him a solid 1 out of 10. But that sums
Oh,
it
there
up. I
is
think
something
Alonso
else.
just missed out. Alonso missed out by a 10th with K-Mag's penalty.
Colapinto's fantastic result means that Bottas is now 22nd in the championship.
Oh, that's not good. Wait, does that mean no?
No, he
Loki's...
didn't beat Logan. So Franco Colapinto, Logan is still P20 in our hearts and in the championship.
Right, on that beautiful note, we will leave it there. Thank you so much, everybody. Remember, US live show and Canada live show tickets are available still. There's a couple that have sold out, but we'd love to see you at any of the other ones. It's in October. Tommy, what are your final thoughts, please, sir?
Final thoughts are, why do we have to wait to get to Baku? Because, it's going to be good.
I'm hoping Charles doesn't ruin my crazy prediction of the season and gets pole and doesn't win around Baku, because I feel like that could definitely happen.
That could definitely happen at Baku, couldn't it? Feels very weird to have Baku now, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. It's usually a start of the season one.
To have it after Monza, but yeah, it's normally quite something. And the way the season's going, I wouldn't put it past it being a good one. So exciting times.
And also, finally, thank you to all of you that messaged me, by the way, saying where you were listening from and watching from. It was quite interesting to see the gym / like I think someone said, thank you so much for saying sweet dreams, because I was literally going to bed. And someone else thanked me for saying keep pushing, because they were in the gym. So it's quite something to hear that. So keep them coming in. We'd love to hear it. And that's it. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you. Well, I'll see you tomorrow for funniest tweets, and then the next day or the next day after that, will be driver ratings as always, and then a little bit later be Baku race week. So yeah, thank you, Tommy. Thank you, everybody. Lots of love. Sweet dreams. Keep pushing. Keep running. Keep, I don't know, cleaning the house. Keep jumping up and down. I don't know. Just having a great time. Keep living. Keep breathing. Take care. Adios. Sweet dreams. Good night.
Live, laugh, love.
Goodbye.